I want to do a book review, an honest book review of the series, The Story of Civilization. My name is Brittany. I am the mother of 4 beautiful children. One is in 5th grade, she's 10. One in kindergarten, she's 5. And I have 2 little boys, 3 and 1. I have been homeschooling for about 5 years now. My 5th grader started right around COVID when everyone got sent home, and then we kept her home for a year and she just thrived, so we continued doing it. And one of the recommendations I had right away was to get a really good history program for my daughter. She was in 1st grade at the time. And I was recommended The Story of Civilization. And I want to give you an honest review of the series. So far we've done 4 different years of The Story of Civilization. One of the years was kind of like a combination of one of the books. So we did, half the book for the first year and then half the book the second year because she was in 1st and 2nd grade. But then from there, it's usually one book every year after that. These books are designed to be good for any grade, which means you can start in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade, or you can start in 5th, 8th grade. I'm not sure about high school. I think they're fantastic. I have learned from them. They probably would still be good for high school, but I think they're geared more toward the K through 8. And they cater to whatever level they're in, and I'll show you why. So first, let's go into the different kinds of books. So the first book I got was The Story of the Bible, and it started with the Old Testament. So this is not just a history lesson in like civics and governments and things. It literally starts from the beginning. So if you notice, it is a Christian point of view. We've got Moses on the cover of this one. We've got knights on the cover of this one. And it's the Old Testament, which means it implies that there's a New Testament one, right? I can't find the New Testament one. It's somewhere in my basement right now, but I know we had it. But the Old Testament starts with, in the beginning. In the beginning was what? In the beginning was nothing. And the earth was void and filled with nothing. And it starts from there. So it is biblical. And then it builds with Adam and Eve. And then it goes to Cain and Abel. And then it goes to the sons of Seth and Noah and the great flood, because these are historical things. Where best to start than the very beginning of creation? So that's where these Christian books start, and they're just fantastic. So each chapter has information about, this one's called In the Beginning. In the beginning, there was nothing. Only God existed, right? And then usually a little bit further in, when there's actual stories of people, it starts having these nice little narratives between people. So it kind of brings you into the story. So let's say you're in the garden with Adam and Eve, and it'll start having these conversations between Adam and Eve, or between Cain and Abel. Obviously not the horrific things that happened with either of them, but just kind of bringing you into the history of it, making you feel like you're a part of what happened. So I really like all of these. There's the Old Testament, there's the New Testament that I can't find. Then there's the medieval world, which is like the, 300s to 1700s, and it talks about art, it talks about fights and wars and how Christianity spread through the medieval world and all of that. Who were the emperors? Who were the big players in history? Super fantastic. And then this one, The Making of the Modern World, is the one that my daughter's on right now. She's in 5th grade. And this one's talking about Napoleon and the making of England and the making of the Anglican Church and the Lutheran and Calvinists and all of those different sects of religion, as well as just simply the history of the Catholic Church. So these are geared more toward the history of the Catholic Church. In this one especially, it talks about saints that were prominent during the medieval period. And this one talks there's a few saints in it, but mostly it was this one because that's when we had a lot of the great big saints, where we got a lot of the religious orders like the Franciscans and the Dominicans and those kinds of things. So I love these. My daughter loves these. She loves to read them. They're an easy read, but they're also not just like low level. You know, it's got the Egyptians defeated them, however they settled on the coast in the southern part of Canaan. You know, like it's not low level reading, but it's also understandable. The other cool thing is it comes with CDs. So you could, if you're a visual person, you want to read it, or if you're an auditory person, or you're like me and you're trying to teach your children to listen and comprehend, because sometimes when they see it, mine are visual. So when they see it, they remember it. But when they hear it, they don't always remember it. So I'm trying different ways of teaching. And this is really good for my 5th grader because she just sticks the CD. Yeah, it's a CD. I know it's old school. But she sticks the CD in a CD player that we got her for like $30. And she listens to the story, and there's a narrator, and he talks about the story, and then he does this whole narration between some situation, like they're about to go to war, and King Constantine is going to lose the battle, and his soldier so-and-so comes in and tells him, we're going to lose the battle, what are we going to do? And then he has a dream, and like, it's super animated and exciting to listen to. I love it. So this series, just reading it and listening to it is awesome. The other thing is when you get the series, it comes with 3 other books. So the first one is the teacher's manual, which has answer keys and more information like questions to ask your students. What are some review questions? What happened in this chapter? You know, who was Napoleon? What were Luther's constituents called? And things like that. And then there's some answer keys because in the student workbook, they have activity books. And depending on the grade level, they could do things like just color it, just coloring, and so that you can remember what you listened to or what you learned, what mom read to you when you're in 1st grade or what you read when you're in 3rd or 4th or 5th grade. And then there's also word puzzles. Those are for the more advanced, the higher levels, because the little ones can't do those. Little ones might be able to do a little word search, so it's good for, fine motor skills. So I love these books. There's also cute little things like they could cut out a crest or a shield and make a family crest on this. This is her activity book from this year, so she hasn't done as many activities yet. It's not complete. But previous years, I have a lot of things done within these activity books because she was really getting into them, especially the 1st and 2nd years. The 3rd and 4th year doing this, she was more into the story of the action. It was more tangible in her head that she could understand the story. And she's not really a busy work person, so I don't make her color when she doesn't want to color because she knows how to color and she's in 5th grade. And then there's a test booklet. So if you want to track your child's grades and like, is she actually comprehending this information that she's learning, there's tests. And it's this one, not really good for the lower grades, like kindergarten, 1st, 2nd. You could ask them the questions, but they're not going to be able to take the test. They're a little bit too young. But there's matching questions, it'll say king who broke England away from the Catholic Church, and you have to find that the answer was Henry VIII, right? Or there's multiple choice, A, B, C, D, or there's true or false. So there's a test for every single chapter in these books. So you could, starting with the very first book, test your kid on what they are understanding. So in the realm of, like, if I gave this a grade of, do I like it, do I not? 100% meaning like, love it. 0% being like, this is the worst curriculum ever. I would give this like a 95 to 100, no matter the grade. My kids love these series. I love these series. I love to read them to my kids. I love to listen to it when my daughter is listening to it. I cannot recommend this enough. It does have a Catholic perspective. So if you're not Catholic, you might read these and think, well, why are we talking about the church and the history of indulgences and how the Pope did this and how that Pope did that, and saints? If you're not Catholic, that might not be your, cup of tea. But for me as a Catholic, I think it's fantastic. And it gives a very, to me, I think, unbiased version of who all of the key players have been in history, all the way up to right now. I think we're on in like the 1800s. So we're all the way up to almost now. Like, she's reading about Christopher Columbus and all the kings and queens of Europe. So I love it. I hope this was helpful. If it was, I'm going to keep doing more honest reviews of curriculum and just projects and things that we do for our homeschool. And if you like this video, please click the thumbs up. If you like my channel, please subscribe. And I hope you loved this, and I hope to see you next time.